What a month it has been for Pearl Abyss. They have had an absolutely amazing release with Crimson Desert. It is without a doubt one of the most impressive open world games we've played in a very long time. Some people have been talking about games like Skyrim or other Bethesda games, talking about games like Witcher 3. I've also been thinking quite a lot about games like Red Dead Redemption 2. These are the absolute pinnacle of this genre, and there's a good reason why we've been doing comparisons to this game, because it really does push the bar higher, I think, in so many ways, and will probably set the standard for many, many years to come. I think one of the reasons why I've been struggling to get my review out for this game is because, well, for a start, I just don't want to put it down. I just want to carry on playing and playing. It's so difficult to pull myself away and actually record some audio for this because I just want to carry on exploring. So I think that's where I'll start. I'll start with exploration, as it is one of the most enjoyable parts of the game. Skyrim had this amazing feeling of, if I go in this direction, I'm not sure what I'm going to find, but I know that I'll probably find something interesting. You're almost guaranteed, and that feeling of the unknown, but also knowing that you're not wasting your time, that's a really important part for me. In Crimson Desert, you are so many times thinking, right, I'm going to log on, I'm going to sort my farm out, I'm going to do this, this and this, and then maybe do some combat. And within 10 minutes, you've completely abandoned everything you were planning to do, and you've just found something that's like really grabbed your attention. And for the next hour, you're focused on that. And then that can span off into other directions. You might find a quest giver. You might find an enemy camp you didn't know about. You might find a new weapon. You think, right, I need to go and test this out. There are so many facets to this game, and the exploration feeds into all of them. So this is Cliff. He is the central character in the game, and he's the main character you're going to play as. You do get a chance to play as another two characters, but while they are interesting characters themselves, they have problems which I'll come into in terms of how they're spliced into the game. But for the majority of the time, in fact all of the time if you choose to do so, Cliff will be your main character and the person pushing things forward. So while Cliff sounds Scottish and his friends sound Scottish, I'm not really sure if Scotland is a place in this fictional world. But yeah, there's definitely Scottish people in it, because that's what Cliff and his friends are. They are the Greymanes, and they are this rough and rugged group of fighters, warriors. They have a code of conduct, they seem quite moral, and yet they don't take any shit. They will defend themselves, and at the start you don't really know much about them other than they've got this feud with these bears, and that's where things kick off, and Cliff is murdered and thrown into a river for dead. A lot of his friends are attacked and the Greymanes are scattered, and that is the preamble for this story.
I'm all ears. Well, you had your chance. Let this be a lesson to all you wolf whelps. Dead already. Give Gian my regards.
So, needless to say, Cliff is not dead, or at least he is for a little bit, but then he's brought back to life by these heralds, these creatures that look human, they're very powerful, and they seem to live in this abyss that exists above Pywell. So when Cliff wakes up, he's in a village, or near a village called Hernand, and you just start to move forward. The game starts to give you hints on what you should do, how to move, how to jump, and just straight away you can feel the quality in this game world, how detailed it is, how you can look at individual objects and pick them up like you can do in Red Dead. And when you walk into an interior, everything is just so well presented, and it just feels like a place you want to explore. Now, I know quite a lot of people didn't really get on well with the first few hours in the game, and I understand why. It is a bit vague and it doesn't have a lot of direction, but I think personally, from my own point of view, I actually quite enjoyed the first few hours. It's not as good as when the game opens up properly, but I was starting to feel like all these systems were heading somewhere and I could see the potential. It really did grab me and keep me engaged. I love the fact that when you go up to the abyss and you're given these powers and then you dive back down to the land, and even at this early point in the game, you're starting to get a sense of the scale and how just massive this game world is and how well it can handle moving around and long distances and just seeing things in the distance. It really is very impressive tech.
The world is yours to explore.
So speaking of environments, Pearl Abyss developed their own proprietary engine for this game called the Black Space Engine. And for this type of game, it just seems like a dream come true. It can handle massive open areas, it can handle lots of moving objects, it can handle a lot of enemies on screen at any one time, it can handle objects deforming like walls, castles crumbling, doors shattering. It just seems to be able to handle anything you can throw at it. And then once you get into like an interior or you want to look at something really close, the level of detail is so impressive, and so it scales back and forth as and when it needs to. I remember when Breath of the Wild came out and the entire world seemed to be captivated by that game for a long time, and I can't speak for other people, but for me personally, one of the main reasons was how authentic the game world was. Like, if you sent a flaming arrow into a wooden cart, it would actually set on fire and the fire would propagate properly. Even the grass around would set on fire and leave like a scorch mark in like burnt grass. And then if you had food on the floor like apples or fish, they would also cook from the heat from the fire. And it just made you feel like you were grounded in this really authentic world that was paying attention to what you were doing and giving you like these really realistic reactions to like physics and heat and cold. So I mentioned Breath of the Wild because the same level of detail and environmental awareness has transferred over to this game. The people who made it obviously were a big fan of that type of authentic physics simulation, and they've woven it into their game as well. So in this game, if you are in freezing cold temperatures, it affects your stamina. Fire propagates properly. You can literally put a barrel of apples onto a cart, set it on fire and cook them all, and the food cooks properly. You can even use the heat from your sword, from one of your abilities that like heats things up, to put meat on the floor and cook it if you need health in a pinch. Another aspect of this game that needs a special mention is the water. This engine handles water like nothing I've seen before. So, for example, waterfalls, rivers, babbling brooks, lakes, everything looks so realistic and acts in such an authentic way. So, for example, if you're running through water, waves come off and will ripple off towards the sides of a body of water. That's your horse, anything that hits water, it works perfectly. If you throw an object like wood into water, it floats properly. If there's a current, it'll be pulled downstream and get blocked in the rocks. They've also modelled proper realistic physics for the waves. So if you go to the ocean, you can actually see waves lapping against rocks and morphing over them. And if then a pool of water goes through it like a narrow channel and into say a rock pool, you can see the waves spreading out with proper physics. It really is impressive to watch.
Swift and merciless. Come forth. I shall slay you myself. Ah! There's a price to be paid for with your life.
Combat is another massive part of Crimson Desert, and it's like everything in this game, it's just absolutely massive, full of layers and so many little details that make it so satisfying to play. Even The range of weapons you've got are incredible. You've got sword and shield, you've got great sword, you've got staffs, axes, you've got different types of combat like dual wielding, grappling, wrestling, and many skills will act differently depending on what type of weapon you have at any one time. So bow skills are another part of combat which I find really satisfying. It gives you another element to attack creatures and enemies in the game. There's loads of different skills. Like there's one that lets you like almost like teleport around as you're fighting. So as you dodge, you kind of like move really fast and then fire off 2 more shots. You've got a thing like in Red Dead where you can slow down time and paint individual targets and then press a button and just watch it all play out. There's even little bespoke attacks for bow skills. So as people close in on you, you can kick them back, dive backwards, and then carry on fighting. Then on top of all this, you've got the axiom attacks as well. So, for example, when Cliff gets the ability to reach out and like manipulate items, you can actually start to use that as an actual attack. So reaching out, pulling people in, and slamming them into the floor. It actually reminded me very much of the Venom attacks in Spider-Man. Again, maybe the team were inspired by these games, but they've used that skill in this game to really good effect. It looks amazing, and it makes you feel like really powerful. It plays into that like wonderful power fantasy they've got going on here. And even now there are still so many things I'm not going into properly, like the way you can just pick up a tree and tenderize people with it, or the amazing elemental attacks you get further on in the game. And all of this would be really impressive in, say, a side-on scrolling beat-em-up game, where you've got all these different moves and grapples. But this is all playing out in a game that's got advanced physics, advanced tactics, and you can use the environment to your advantage. You can come in with aerial attacks, you can run over and smash down a watchtower, and just watch it all crumble in amazing glory. You can run up to, say, a fortress door and lift it up with force of nature, and everyone inside reacts perfectly. They're all like standing back in awe and fear because of what you've just done. There are so many different parts of this. Explosive barrels. You can even go running in with some of your mounts, the bespoke mounts you get when you kill legendary creatures, and they will fight by your side. It's so many amazing things to consider. And when you've done this, you just feel so powerful, and you feel a bond with that creature. I think the warg type creature does it, and the massive white bear that you can get. And on top of all of this, you can also call in your allies. So the male and female allies you get, you can play as. They can actually come in and help you, or if you're playing as them, you can call Cliff in. So yeah, I'm not even scratching the surface here, but when you've tried the combat in this game, it's so satisfying and so amazing. The only downside at the moment, and they've already addressed this, is that as you get nearer the end of the game, there's actually a system where enemies start to run out. You'll start to defeat camps and fortresses, and you start to feel like the game's a bit light. Now, the developers have acknowledged this, and they're going to implement a system where enemy factions start to take back fortresses and different locations. So this is really a non-issue now. They've already said they're going to fix it, but yeah, something to be aware of in the current build of the game. I've spoken a little bit about the environments in this game, so the mountains, the rivers, the forests, all that kind of stuff, all the land. But it wouldn't be any use if there wasn't anything on top of it, any people, any creatures, any biospheres, that kind of stuff. And this, again, is where this game has so much layers of detail. And this was apparent to me even from the first couple of minutes of playing. Like I said, you arrive in Hunan, this is like the first little town you end up in. And I spent a lot of time just wandering around and watching what people were doing. And it is true that every single NPC has a routine, has a life, has little jobs, little personalities, and you really do feel like you're walking around in a living, breathing world. Even at night time, when you're on top of a roof and you're watching all the farmers putting all their stuff away, and the amazing engine helps you see right into the distance. So you can see like individual camps lighting up, people lighting their oil burners and fires. you just feel like you're sat in an actual world that's ticking over, and you're just part of it. And then you might say glide down to the floor with your axiom flight powers, and everyone around you just suddenly like stands back. So you've done something quite strange. Or the way you can like nudge into people and just like bang into them, or if you go past them on a horse, for example, you can like knock them over. So the world is constantly reminding you that you're there, that you're a physical part of it, and that if you do certain actions, then people will react, physics will react, and I find that incredible. So amazingly enough, Crimson Desert was originally going to be an MMO. Now I'm a big MMO fan, so I was really on board with that. I enjoyed Black Desert Online, but it definitely had its little quirks, and so I was looking forward to seeing them maybe streamline some of that. And then at some point, they decided they were going to make it into a single player game, and everyone was like, "What? How do you turn an MMO structure into a single player game?" So if I'm honest, I kind of wrote the game off mentally until they showed me otherwise. And so, obviously, we know now the game works, but you still see all these systems in place which would fit quite well into an MMO. You got all the crafting elements. You can craft your own armor, your own weapons through the smithy. You've also got alchemy. You've got cooking. You've got farming. Oh yeah, farming. That's part of Howling Hill. That's right. You've got an entire camp to run as well. And this kind of forms the backbone of your quests with the Greymanes. So at first you've got a few like individual tents, and you will go out and you search for new Greymanes who've been scattered. So you bring them back to the camp, and then you start to put them to work. And there's an amazing system where each individual member has individual skills, like say farming skills or engineering skills and so on. And so when you open the map, you can actually send them out into the world to do tasks. And it's this really nice management system where you've got food, you've got weapons, you've got resources like stone and wood. And so you have to kind of manage it all and use it properly to then get a return. And yeah, it works pretty well, and it adds another layer of things you want to be doing when you're out there. And so you might be heading in a certain direction, and you've heard a rumour that there's some Greymanes been like working on a farm. You go and find them, and it's not just like a tick box. You actually go and like speak to them, and they like come and give you a big hug and say, "Oh, Cliff, we thought you were dead," and they all come back. And yeah, and even on top of that, once they get back to the camp, a lot of these people have individual needs and quests. And so if you want to get stuck into all that and build the camp up, it really does pay dividends, because at some point you get a farm, like I've said, you get a ranch, there's like a full farming system. You can go and steal animals in the middle of the night from other farms, or you can raise them, or you can even like become good friends with the farmer, and then he will offer you new stock. It's just so many different things to do. I've actually found myself taking the fertilizer, basically the cow shit from the farm, carting it along to the growing farm I've got, and feeding my apple trees. So yeah, I mean, all of this is there if you want it, and it all adds to that fantasy of this is a living, breathing world. And so many people claim that in their games, don't they? But this really is.
You lost your war, Northlander. For daring to stand before me, you will now lose your life. His power is mine. No one can take it from me. Might is power.
I still have so many things I want to tell you about, and I don't really have time because I want to get this review done before we all die of old age. But yeah, there's the bounty system. So as you're walking around, you'll find these leaflets, these posters. You actually pull them off the pole, which of course you do, because there's like detail everywhere. Read the note and put it away, and then you find these bounties around the world. You got to like tackle them, put them on your horse, and then bring them back to the authorities and get a small reward. And just like in Red Dead Redemption 2, some of the things they say on the way back, they're begging to be released. You can release them. You can kill them if you want. It's just really up to you. You've got investment banking. You can like invest gold bars at the local bank. There's a full theft and stealth system where if you get caught, there's a crime system, you get punished and bounties on yourself. There's archery competitions, there's wrestling camps, there's smoke-filled gambling dens, there's so many secrets, hidden waterfalls, there's faction research trees, and a really advanced achievement system, so those of you who like to do achievements, you're absolutely covered. So I wanted to talk about the 2 additional characters you can play as I feel like they're an interesting part of the game, but it's the one part of the game that I think was very badly worked into the main flow. So for a start, these Abyss artifacts you get, they basically power your skill tree, so you unlock different skills with them. The really bad part is that these Abyss artifacts are shared across all 3 characters. So if you upgrade Cliff fully, that means you'll have none left for the other 2 characters. And given the game's difficulty later on, you don't want to be sending Cliff in like half developed, and you don't want to miss out on certain skills. So I think this would have been much better if when you unlock an Abyss artifact, you get 1 for each character, and then that would allow you to develop each one in turn, and then you can flip to the other character and you don't feel like they're half-baked when you're going into fights and stuff. I also found it really surprising that these 2 other characters, they didn't have certain essential skills, like Cliff's ability to reach out and grab things and move them around, and also to strike things with his palm with the nature skills. This is to like lock things in place. And so what you would end up doing was, if you were playing these other characters, you have to get there as them, and then swap over to Cliff, and he might be quite a way away. And so it just breaks down the flow of the game, and it makes you just not want to play as these other characters. Thankfully, Pearl Abyss have just iterated and improved the game so much that this has now been included, and now it makes these characters more playable. So my only wish really now is that they start to work on a way of getting the Axiom artifacts into the game as well, so when you earn 1 for one character, you earn them for all of them. And speaking of improvements, this is a major part of the review process for me, is that we've had a month now of this game, and Pearl Abyss have absolutely nailed it. They've shown the entire industry what it is to bring a game out and then listen to fan feedback and really implement everything they can. They haven't got everything perfect, like they moved the movement system from like a very slow momentum based thing into a little bit more of an arcadey fast movement system, and those that like the original system complained. So do you know what they did? They put both into the game, so now you can flip between the 2. They've added improvements to inventory, to movement, to stamina. They've looked at every facet of this game and improved it in some way, and I'm just in awe of how much they've done in such a short amount of time. I just wanted to mention very quickly about the story. I think a lot of people have gone for the story in this, especially the main detractors like IGN and Polygon. They've really lambasted the story, and I think that's quite unfair. The actual acting I find to be quite good. Cliff is quite quiet. He's quite a simple guy. He doesn't say much. He speaks through actions, and I think that is the perfect protagonist to have in a game like this. At the end of the day, this is an open world sandbox game, and it's designed to last for many hundreds of hours, I think. So you're never going to get story beats every 10 minutes. You just can't, because it would be impossible. And so the story is quite fragmented, because you pick it up and drop it in certain places, in between exploring and doing all the other things that I've mentioned. And so that kind of story fits with this game type perfectly. But if you're looking for a game that is just almost pure story, like all the way through, I think this game might not be for you. So I can't finish my review without mentioning the boss fights. These have been quite contentious, and when the game first launched, the boss fights were seen as quite difficult. The health pools were too big, and they needed some refinement, some tweaking. And I think that's fair, actually. Based on what I know, I spoke to a few people who were playing the game before it came out, and they all said that it was just, yeah, it wasn't fun, and that's a fair comment, I think. Obviously, Pearl Abyss, like I've said, have gone through quite a large iterative process, and they've changed quite a lot of things, and they really have worked on the boss fights. Now, obviously, some of the people who are just sadists and got through these boss fights as they were when they were too difficult, they might feel a bit aggrieved that now they've done this amazing achievement. But again, to help with this situation, Pearl Abyss have now said they're going to add difficulty levels, so people can adjust difficulty as and when they want, and so this now solves this problem. In terms of my own opinion on the boss fights, I think they're incredible. I'm not really a Dark Souls, like, making my knuckles bleed trying to play through a boss 10 times before I even get halfway. I don't want to suffer that much. I haven't got enough time to be doing that kind of thing. So I just want a little bit of a challenge. I want an epic spectacle, and I want to then move on and get on with the game. And that is exactly what Pearl Abyss did for me with this game. They've brought these really amazing boss fights, really excellent animation. The arenas you're fighting in are all getting smashed to pieces, and even the first mini boss fight in Hernand, it's just incredible to see like all the crowd behind you all like separating as you land. That's all done in real time. That's not scripted. And then you find all the fixtures around the arena all getting smashed to pieces. It makes you feel epic. And when you defeat them, you sometimes learn new skills as well. So it makes you feel like you want to search out and find these boss fights. So one last major part about the game before we wrap this review up is the puzzles. I found them to be fantastic. So when you get into the game very early on, you find the ability to lift things up with this like telekinetic like grasp. Very much like Zelda Breath of the Wild. There's no two ways about it. Like that definitely was inspired by that. And when you play Zelda and do these shrines, a lot of it is physics based. So moving things around, slotting things in place, and using electricity and whatnot. These puzzles are also very similar in the way that they are very well designed. They do challenge you. There have been some where I've literally left them because I can't do them. And they're also really well grounded into the environment. Some of them you find them and it's like you can just feel like they've been there for like hundreds and thousands of years, just waiting for you to come along and try and figure them out. And obviously the rewards are really good as well. Some of these puzzles, they give up some incredible weapons, armor, some treasures as well, which are really interesting. When this game first released, the legacy media gave this game a shockingly bad score, I think. Now, some people have said, you know, opinions are opinions, and so that's that. But I think when you've got such a loud mouthpiece as IGN and Polygon and Eurogamer have, you have a professional obligation to get it right. And you have to also recognise that your words and your scores, they have ramifications and consequences for them development studios. Now, the terrible scores they gave wiped off 30% of that company's stock price. That's people's jobs on the line. That's people's careers on the line. So you better get it right because you have a responsibility. And I think if you don't treat that responsibility right and you don't show that you're taking things seriously, then I don't think you should have that privilege. I think that publishers and developers, they should take away that access, that privilege that you've got to play games before everyone else. This has been a massive review and it's taken me a month to do and it's taken me 5 days to edit. So yeah, if you stayed with me until the end, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. I hope you are enjoying the game, and if you're not playing it, then do you have my recommendation? Absolutely, yes. This is one of the best open world sandbox games we've ever seen. It really does raise the bar. It makes me very excited about the next things that Pearl Abyss are going to do. It's clear to me they're going to keep iterating and improving this game, and they'd be mad not to start adding new DLC and new aspects to the game. even foresee that they might actually add a multiplayer aspect, maybe a co-op where you can both play together. I mean, that would be incredible, wouldn't it? They'd have to do a bit of jiggery pokery, they'd have to do some balancing, but I think that would work really well, especially given it's got MMO DNA in it. And so yeah, we're done. That's my review for Crimson Desert. It's been an absolute amazing month. I'm actually going to continue playing, so I've not actually fully finished the game yet. So I'm looking forward to getting it finished. And if I've got time, I'm actually considering restarting and turning this into a special video series, which I've been planning for a while now. And this is the absolute perfect game to do that with. So yeah, watch this space. But thanks for staying till the end. If you're not subscribed, please do so. I would love a like, and most of all, I would love a comment. Tell me your favourite part about this game or a situation you've been in, and I look forward to speaking to you. And thanks very much, guys. I'll speak to you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.